What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and you are here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest, second time on the program, Christopher Curtis. We are here to talk about J.A.Z.Z one more time. Juggernauts against Zealous Zealots. Thank you for being here, brother.
Hey, man, no problem. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. So, the last time we talked, of course, things may have gotten a little bit too revealing, but but we have a couple new characters going into issue 2. First and foremost, for anybody that hasn't had a chance to dive into the story, give them an introduction about the meaning of the storyline in Juggernauts against Zealous Zealots.
Okay, so in short, there's a city that is plagued with monster portals, and it's up to a group of 5 people to uncover the mystery of these portals and to figure out the link between the portals and their government. Um, it is a semi-action comic. There's a lot of thrillers going on, but very, very easy read, very, very fun read. So I advise everybody to go ahead and check it out.
Yep, and of course, for anybody that is taking justification just in the cover, it is a manga. So the black and white artwork and everything that's done in here, and I forgot who the artist is,
Astro Hari.
who has done a phenomenal job. And he's not it's not the person that did issue 0, it's the person that did issue 1 and of course issue 2 that you're seeing right now on Kickstarter, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so to dive right into it, I am noticing that there are 2 new characters that are being introduced into this because of course we're diving a little bit more after the events of issue 1. There was a little bit of a Mission Impossible tactical operation that was going down at the end of issue 1 with Beats and Mute, and they were looking to basically harness a little bit of information from a data center in the middle of the Neo Haven government.
Right.
So we now get introduced to Mayor Byron Flint and was it Bianca Rosario Connor, who is her chief of staff.
Blanca.
Blanca Rosario Connor, who is the chief of staff. Now, I'm now focusing my attention on now the antagonists are in the room.
Yes.
So,
More importantly, they've always been in the room.
mm, now, how so? Without spoiling a little too much.
Shoot, I wish I could. With when you say without spoiling too much.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Then
so
it would.
so in a sense, they've always been in the room because there is a connection between the chief of staff and one of the members of J.A.Z.Z.
Ah,
And
okay.
that connection is that they are both half sisters.
Okay. Well, and then I will dive into the fact that you put a recent Father's Day post up that said Kill Switch probably has some choice words for her father.
Yes, which we're gonna dive into that in the beginning of chapter 3, but um it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows when she found out that her father had committed adultery when her mother was dying. So
Mm,
she basically met her half sister years later when when this situation had become public, and he tried to do a PR stunt to avoid criticism and to say that he's gonna take care of his kids, and his kids are soldiers, and they'll be okay, not realizing that he's screwing them up over the over time. So that's kind of why I said that.
oh, okay. So like now her father is still around. Her mother passed, of course, unfortunately, correct?
No, father died after high school.
Oh, okay. But the only, I guess, the only sisterly or sibling connection is this lovely chief of staff who we're now getting our fingers into. Um, so when we're talking about the bunch, Nova, Kill Switch, Hex, Mute, Beats, um, and just understanding like exactly what they've been up to. They're very rebellious. I know you basically you you garnered how this manga was being constructed through the basis of a sort of a punk rebellion against the establishment.
Yeah.
Now, um, as far as the Neo Haven government, what exactly like inspirations? Because you have the Empire from Star Wars, you have certain you have My Hero Academia, you have certain debilitating antagonists who are more so of an establishment that are basically brought to the forefront. Now, how would you say that the New Haven government differs from some of those?
Well, actually, funny thing about that is that the Star Wars analogy comes in play because I kind of based some of my beats on how George Lucas did his stuff. So when we got episode four, it was the introduction of the rebels, and then you got episode five, which was where now the antagonists have to answer back, and that's kind of
Hmm.
what I was doing. So that's it's pretty funny that you said that. You know, you be paying attention. But these so they differ because it's one of those stories where from the outside in you think that there might be some type of start connection that they're like 100% playing with, but you don't know yet. But in about a chapter or two, you'll realize that they're essentially in the same boat as Jazz, where they don't know, but they just happen to be playing with fire, not realizing how much they're all about to get burnt. So it's just kind of one of those like, I don't know what this thing does, but it kind of makes this thing happen, and this is what's going on, and then it snowballs into a much bigger thing. And so that's what it looks like, right? Or for the time being.
Yo, and I can see basically how that's kind of like been building up as far as from what I got to see in issue one. And of course, if issue two is going to resemble that fact, um, is this more so retribution from the Neo Haven government towards Jazz, or is it just basically an ongoing onslaught towards the portals and Jazz is in the way?
It's a mixture of both. With Jazz in a way, they're not able to conduct the research needed for this side thing that they're doing. So they're looking at their options and they're like, hey, we actually might need to take them serious because we can't keep treating them like insects. They're actually big dogs. It's time to go put them down. So it is basically a personal vendetta, but it's also a systematic vendetta where it's like I'm just trying to get things going and you guys are in the way.
Now, is this more so that Blanca is in the mayor's ear, or is the mayor like just basically the big villain in all this?
Um, no to both.
No to
And
both.
that's probably like the most truest thing that I could say.
Mm,
Um, the mayor is bad, but it's not him, so to speak. Blanca and we're gonna get into bigger detail here shortly, but
right.
Blanca is actually happenstance.
Okay.
She was not a direct causation between Jazz and him. She happened to be in this specific environment where he was able to do this event. And I'm saying all these bland words
Yeah.
for later, but it just happened to be like, oh, by the way, we have this link. Like, let's go ahead and put this in play.
But don't they still have like a link that works for the government? Doesn't Dr. Benjamin Morgan still work for the government? Doesn't he work
So
for the New Haven government?
yeah, so of and so event so originally the shield data was his,
Okay.
and he was just working in his field on protecting the city. He did not realize over time that he was not protecting the city the way that he thought he was. And that's why he did his homework. And then now he's the mole between Jazz and them, which to no one's dismay, the mayor knows it. Like it's not a quiet thing.
And that's what I think I brought up in like the first time that we talked. I was like outside of issue one, I was like, yo, this man's gonna get caught one day.
Oh, he's caught 100% already. And side note, we're actually, and I've mentioned it prior a couple times online and whatnot, but we're actually going to be redoing Chapter Zero.
Mm.
So the one that you have right now is officially lost media.
Uh,
So that's like a super duper rarity. It's not going back in print, but we're gonna be redoing Chapter Zero with Ash because I feel like Ash needs to um get the introduction story out so that we could put so that when we compile it in the volume, it won't just be a jarring change of art style, art style.
oh
So
yeah.
we're gonna make like a few subtle changes, but it'll be almost the like exact same thing.
Now, are these more so art changes, or is this actually going to be writing passages that are also going to change?
Both,
Wow.
both. With it because when I originally wrote Jazz, I wrote it in the guise to sell to a like specific group of people. And when I realized that that was a dumb thing to do, I just ignored it and went on to one, two, and three and everything. But now that I have the chance to go back, I get to go pull up my old script and
Mhm.
play with that one, and then we'll put it back in play. But it'll still be enjoyable nonetheless.
Dope. Now, is it true or false? Um, is it true that because of the style of the storyline that you basically built here, being as how Jazz is generally a team of maybe around 6 or 7 individuals, and that their main threat of action are basically monsters that arrive through these portals, whether it's a Pacific Rim style or basically Godzilla type style or anything like that. Is it true that this was once the inspiration for video game design and RPG?
Yeah, yeah. So before I got this far, um, about 2 years prior to when I first started writing Jazz itself, I was working on I was a video game writer for a indie developer that happened to be my friend, and we got really far in the process before we stopped working on the game due to technical issues, and we just didn't have like no actual team, no money. So I was waiting on him to figure out what he wanted to do, and he took way too long. So he scrapped the entire thing, and I kept looking at my Google Docs and was like, I don't want to leave this. So I kept asking him like, are you cool if I take this, like take the whole
Mhm.
concept, play with it, change some things, put it because I wrote it. Are you cool if I do it? I won't put our name, I won't put your name on it. It'll be my own jive. And he just said do it. So he's actually one of the bigger supporters of Jazz, and he's been buying them, and he's been in my ear about it, and he's like, well shit, maybe we should have just been doing this the whole time.
Yeah, look, I would hope so. He'd be one of the biggest supporters. I mean, if he basically has a fingerprint in this, so that it would be enough to say that he should.
Exactly.
Word. So when we talk about the dynamics of teams, generally people don't understand how difficult it can be to juggle people's personalities when you're writing them all within either a Western style comic book or a manga. Describe how basically you've had the ability to do this and why you chose to do like your first manga as a full team. Some people will just choose an original character and build off of that. You're choosing to do it with six.
Oh, because I'm crazy. There's no I kind of wrote this whole scope out, and then when it was time to put it on paper, I was like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
wait a second. So funny enough, originally it wasn't a team.
Okay.
Originally Jazz was already established, and Nova was the main character, and it was going to be from her point of view. She was going to be the last member, and she was going to be the last one augmented, and she was going to be thrusted into this big storyline, like out the gate, and just be ready for it. And as I was writing it, um, I started to kind of like fall more in love with like everybody, and I was like, well, shoot, I kind of want to not, I don't want to like just having a Nova's point of view. I want to put it on Hex's point of view. Well, then there's kills, and then all of a sudden, I kind of was like, why don't I just treat the whole team as one character?
Yeah.
So it got easier in the beginning, and then around chapter one is when I was like, why don't I do this thing where I break them up?
Mm,
And so that becomes even easier because now I only have to worry about the interactions between two people versus a whole five.
right. No, no, and that's totally understandable. Now, when we're talking about like how that dynamic generally happens, and you're looking at it from like I guess the context that looking at it through the lens of I guess the reader myself, you're basically saying that they all have one goal, you know,
Yeah,
and pretty much they all have a more distinct goal because they're pretty much trying to find out the same thing that the government's been trying to find out this entire time, even though that they think that the government's been in on it this
right.
entire time. Um, how exactly do you, I guess, create that type of dialogue in order for like them to coexist as a team?
As opposed to the government team or just the like Jazz itself.
Just Jazz itself.
Rephrase the question one more time.
No, I said, how do you choose to like create dialogue to where they coexist? Because they all have like their
Oh,
own distinct traumas and everything that's happened to them. So like, how did you have choose the fact that you wanted to build off that to where they could coexist? Like there's almost like was there an origin story where how they all formed?
yeah, and we're gonna do that. So I was gonna waste a entire chapter doing that, and I realized that if I did it, it was gonna slow down um too much in the form of storytelling. So instead of trying to do one whole chapter, we're gonna break it up over time.
Yeah.
So as you keep reading, you'll be getting more and more flashbacks, and those flashbacks will always coexist with whatever current theme is going on at the time. But with the team itself, everybody in the team has their own unique personality, which makes it even easier.
Oh yeah.
Um, Hex, who is one of the founding members of Jazz, is just there because um, their father had a instinct and was like, I need help. And Hex was like, I got you. Hex made Mute, so Mute works with Hex. Um, Kill Switch is one of the more long-term friends of Hex and kind of jumped on pretty early as a way to protect Hex.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think I talked to you about it last time about like her overprotectiveness
yeah,
over Hex.
which is definitely it's gonna be one of the bigger um negatives for Kill Switch in due time. But so with those characters kind of just building off of each other in the back way, uh it allows them to have different ideals on how they do things. Like for example, in chapter one, everybody is aware of the plan, but if you pay attention to Nova, Nova's like, this is boring, let's just go in there and punch him.
Yeah.
Why are we not going in there just jumping them? And then they have to keep telling her that if we do that, that's going to be negative for Mute and Beats inside. So we got to run things like this.
Mhm.
And then when Hex was like, we got to do it disguise, right? So we got to do something crazy. Are they watching us? Bam, top goes off. Nobody on the team thought of that or wanted it, but Killswitch realized what was going on. It was like, okay, just this one time, we are linked up like this. So I'm gonna do it too. And it played out the way it did. So over time you will see a lot more of that type of synergy. All they have to do is pay attention to like what they do, and then they act accordingly.
Mm. So when you're talking about the fact that basically going into possibly like issue three, that the team just generally is not going to be the same. Is it that they've been together so long and that nobody seems to be being agreeing with each other, doing all these basically operations, so they just choose to break up? Or is there something pivotal that's going to happen to one of them to where the rest of them start to take blame on somebody else?
You told me earlier that you were not going to be like on the target, but you but you're on the target.
Uh,
Like you're bullseye, bam. So something pivotal does happen. Actually, it starts at the end of two.
Okay.
goes into 3, and then it'll end at 4.
Mm,
And it's a event that Prisma causes, Blanca causes. Her name is Prisma. It's no longer Blanca.
okay.
After 2, but it's something that because she this will be Jazz's first actual um us versus government conflict. So it's gonna be them against Blanca, and they're kind of like not, they're taking her light, like, oh, you're just an office worker, like, you're not nobody. They don't know what she can do. So
Right.
when she gets in there, she acts a fool and puts everybody on their asses. And then that's when you start to kind of see that, like, Marvel mid movie thing where, oh no, now we got this second half, and now
Yeah.
we got our asses whooped. How do we come back from this? So um something else happens in there, but generally you get to see despair for for the first time. They've been up. They've been 3-0.
Oh yeah.
This whole time. So of course they're patting themselves on the back, and Flint has no idea what he's doing. We will figure them out. They don't know that Flint has the better idea over time. So, but yeah, that's it. It'll be a pivotal moment.
Mm, okay. Now, also, I believe I just saw that you were basically just a part of the anthology, the Cthulhu Invades Neverland with Devin Arscott and doing it on Travis Gibbs' anthology series.
Yeah,
How,
last
did-
year.
how was that? How was that experience?
I, I don't. So I had no idea what Cthulhu was at
Okay.
all, and I didn't really understand why people go crazy for it.
Hmm.
So when Travis asked me last year if I wanted to do it, I said yes before I said, but what is it? So when I asked him about it, he told me. I still didn't get it. So I had to go look it up, and I still didn't get it. So
Right.
I kind of just like, well, it appears to be some type of like mythos creature that comes around at the bottom of like despair. So let me see if I can emulate that. And then when I did it, Travis and Devin, who was because me and Devin did a part 1, part 2 of the same story.
Okay.
So when I showed it to Devin, Devin was like, "Are you sure you have no idea what a Cthulhu is? Because you got this like on the first try." And I'm
Mm,
like, "Dude, if you think it's good, I think it's good. I don't know what I'm doing." But everybody who saw it and people who came back to me about it and was like, "This is a very good section," and I was like, "I guess, I hope it is." But if it wasn't Devin, I probably would have just quit because there's nobody really around that I want to work with. But
it's true.
but
It's true. Yeah. Like I mean, I'm of course I think just behind your comic is
yeah, noir.
one of his. You know what I'm saying? So I am familiar with Mr. R. Scott and his work. I mean, to be honest, he's primarily an editor.
Yeah,
So, when he goes around and is of course doing that type of work because he loves to read just like I do, but he's big on critiques and everything like that. But he's positive as hell, man. I love that guy.
yeah, he is. I want more for him over time.
For real. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's amazing. And that your first anthology?
That was no, well, yes, that was the first completed one. I got asked to do another one prior, and I said no to it. Which I'm kind of glad I did because the artist who I had at the time, we were having issues. So
Okay.
if I had said yes, then issues happened, I'd have been like, crap, now I'm about to owe people some money or something at some point.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand that. And also outside of jazz, you're actually going to be starting a brand new series very soon, right? Or are you already on it?
Oh, it's yeah. So right after Jazz finishes, I gotta jump to the very next campaign, and I gotta talk about it. But yes, we're gonna go into the foray of wrestling,
Okay.
which is not my first time doing it.
No, it's not your first time doing it because of course you had a hand in Tapper die.
Yeah, and so funny enough, this originally was gonna be the pitch that I gave Stokes. But over time, I realized if I just go do the pitch, it'll be the same thing almost as Tap or Die, and I don't want to do that. So
Right.
I went back and changed some things, and then I just changed the whole thing. It was like, screw it. I got a much better idea because I'll be working with some indie wrestling promotions so that I can be able to distribute through them and to
Ah,
possibly license out their characters or their wrestlers to me. And I'm trying to move up to where I can actually look over at Triple H and say, "Hey, you mind if I borrow this person real fast?" And he'll
right.
say, "Of course," or however he talks. So that's my goal is to make a decent enough project where I can get an actual licensing from AEW or whoever,
That's
and that should happen.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And the thing is, the probably the same thing I told Stokes. There is a very small outlet for wrestling comics.
Yeah.
And as big as wrestling is, I'm surprised that there's not more.
It's so, and there's a reason for that. So a lot of comic book readers will often tell you, "I don't like wrestling," and then wrestling fans will tell you, I don't like comic books." So you have to be the bridge and tell them you're both idiots. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in Junction. There's story beats here. There's over the top flashy characters here.
Yeah. There's
There's this
conflict. There's
dialogue. Yeah, it's all that.
all
So
that.
you got to be the bridge, and that's what I want to do is go to these people and hand them the product and say, "You don't like wrestling," and have them look at it in their eyes. And I'm like, "Are you sure you don't like or you don't like comics? Are you sure you don't like comics because you're holding a good one right here?" And they'll look at it and then they'll go, "Oh well, let me go ahead and check it out." And that's how that starts. So you kind of have to be that like ignition. But it's glad I'm glad that you said that too, so that like there wasn't that many wrestling comics here too, because I was told last year that there was abundance of them. And every time I hear that, I go, name some.
Name some.
Besides Tap or Die, besides do a power bomb, name some. And people can't do it. And I'm kind of like, well, there might not be an actual market
Yeah.
of comic book makers who are making wrestling comics. So I might be onto something, but what do I know? I'm just a guy who's just making some stuff.
Now, how exactly are you like putting this together as far as like the art style and everything that you're looking to like go for in putting this together? Like, what are you visioning how that's going to look?
It's gonna be done by Ash again.
Okay, good.
And we are doing a manga style comic again, but it's gonna be a different way where you'll see much bolder lines to show like heavy to show actual heft in action and just in like straight aura. So people are able to see like people being like menacing here or
Yeah,
someone being like made of steel here, things like that. So it'll be a little bit of that. Um, as long as I'm working with Ash, it'll always be something in manga style because that's just how we operate. Um, Ash is really good with like drawing female characters, and I'm really good at writing female characters. So that's kind of how we operate. Speaking of that, this will be a women's wrestling
oh,
manga. Yeah, it's just a whole different thing. And of course,
now we're
whenever I say
talking.
that, yeah, and of course, whenever I say that, people are going, "Oh man, I can't wait for the rated R, rated M, mature, rated
Oh,
18."
the NSFW.
Yeah, and whenever I tell them like actually if there won't be any, then they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah." So when you are trying to make a pitch deck to certain people, you have to meet their rating criteria. And if they don't do it, you can't do it. So when I
Yeah,
look at WWE and I look at Ring of Honor or what or New Japan Pro Wrestling, I go to where they're at. So if they're keeping it a certain PG-13, I gotta keep it the very same way. There might be some language, and there might be some semi to normal like suggestive themes, but that means I have to let go of the NSFW covers and I have to let go of the NSFW imagery. And that's not hard to do, but
that's not
like
hard to
a
do.
lot of people, especially when I'm like trying to get like an actual plan going on. But like some people hear it and they're like, oh, well, this would sound great if it's XYZ. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, man. Please still buy it, but
Yeah.
I hate that you have to wait to see nipples to go be able to look at wrestling.
Like this is how I'm going to create it. And I would hope that you would like to read it because the story is just going to be that intriguing.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, they'll do it anyway.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they always talk crap and then they show up anyway and then still
Yep.
buy it.
Yep. Hey, so what the last time we talked, I believe you said that if I'm and tell me if I'm incorrect. The issues for Jazz, you're looking to go 6 issues
No,
or
it
four?
was 16.
Oh my God. Okay. I was totally off. I thought it was six.
So, well, no, not it. It's probably it's so when we last talked, it was probably up at 16, but I think I knocked it down to like I don't know, 13, 14. But I'm trying to release in all of this total 3 volumes.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
if I can get 3 volumes out, Jazz itself will be done. But I also told you that when Jazz ends, the story still continues.
Oh yeah. So
So
you're
so
gonna have connectivity in basically the next thing that you're writing.
yeah, and not only that, anything that so what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a universe, a multiverse to speak. Well, more so a universe. So whenever I make anything, unless I tell you in the book, it's in the same universe as Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So when you read Dream Match Revolution, which is the wrestling comic,
Okay.
in the same Jazz universe. When you read Good Blood Money, which is a rated R, rated 18 plus online comic, that's also in the same universe. And so when we get past Jazz, you're going to see a lot of the culmination of other characters show up because like I said before, there's a much bigger threat coming, and they like Jazz just can't do it,
Mm.
so to speak.
Okay. Man, look. And now like basically with these 2 issues now being out, like I have them in my house. If somebody wanted to get their hands on Jazz the 0 issue or issue 1 or issue 2 that's about to drop, where could they possibly get them currently outside of Kickstarter?
If you so I basically put Jazz Chapter Zero out for free. So if you go on like Global Comics,
Okay.
Nami Kami, or my website, crystalink.com,
Mm,
I have a tab where you could just read Chapter Zero right there for free. If you want to get Chapter One and essentially Chapter Two, it's also on Global Comics. It's behind a paywall if on the
yep.
digital side. If you want a physical copy, it's on crystalink.com on my shop, and it's on my TikTok shop as well. People do buy on there a lot, so I'm really surprised. I used to be anti TikTok until I got that shop up, and wow, man, they go nuts on there. So I mean, that's the only good places right now to go buy it at.
That's excellent, man. So as of right now, I think you got about like what a good 2 more weeks in the campaign, correct?
Yep.
All right. So as of right now, shit, thank you for doing this with me. Jazz issue 2 still live on Kickstarter for another 2 weeks. Already crossed the goal. So congratulations in advance on that. That's already pretty much done. So stretch goals are pretty much on the way.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they're out right now.
yeah. So you already in the stretch goals. So for everybody out there, Christopher Curtis, James Grandmaster Facts Boys, and the Facts Project. Thank you for doing this again, brother. Go out there and get Jazz on Kickstarter. Issue 2 is live right now. So get out there and get that. Thank you once again for all of us here at the Facts Project. We are out.